Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first lesson for Chapter 0 of your geometry course. This lesson will cover order of operations and evaluating algebraic expressions. So first of all, when most students think of order of operations, the first thing that should come to mind is the acronym PEMDAS. Now, I don't like to write it like that. I like to write it vertically so that we see what order things are supposed to happen in. P stands for parentheses. Keep in mind that there are three different types of parentheses. Parentheses themselves, these are called, the square ones are called brackets. The curly ones are called braces. We always work from the inside out, and within those parentheses you do still need to follow PEMDAS. So if there's exponents and multiplication inside of the parentheses, you would do the exponent first inside the parentheses, then you would multiply inside the parentheses, etc. E stands for exponents. So after you have eliminated all parentheses, you would then use any exponents. Now keep in mind that once the parenthesis is settled down to a single number, it no longer counts as parentheses, then it becomes multiplication or addition, depending on what sign is in front. Okay? So exponents would be next. Remember that something like to the third power, what that means is you're taking that number times itself that many times. So x cubed would be x times x times x. 2 to the fourth would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, etc. Okay, M and D stand for multiply and divide. Keep in mind that these are really the same thing. Division is just multiplication by a fraction, so they always happen at the same time. And we always move from left to right, always. So we work from the inside out, and we work from the left to the right. Same thing for AS, that is addition and subtraction. Same thing. We always work at the same time and from left to right. Okay, so that is how we go through this. Parentheses first from the inside to the outside, then exponents, then multiplication and division from left to right, and then addition and subtraction from left to right. So let's go through some examples. These are the same ones that appear on the blank notes that are provided for you in your classroom. So here is the first example, 2 plus 4 times 2. There are no parentheses. There are no exponents. So we move directly to multiplication and division. We have multiplication here. 4 times 2 is 8. So we would do that first, which leaves us with 2 plus 8, which would be 10. On the next example, inside the parentheses is where we're going to start. Okay, our first step is going to be to carry out the exponent on the inside. That is our first step. So that would be 25. 5 squared is 25. And then we still have parentheses, 25 minus 5. So negative 6 plus 25 minus 5. Then we are going to do 25 minus 5, which is 20. The parentheses are no longer necessary, so we have negative 6 plus 20, or 14. Remember, this is a video. You can pause it at any time or go back and watch an example again if I'm going too fast. Here's 2 more examples. So here we have 9 squared divided by 5 minus 2. So our order of operations says we should start with the parentheses. 5 minus 2 would be 3, meaning that we're looking at 9 squared divided by 3. Next up would be our exponent. So we're going to carry out the exponent next. 9 squared is 81. So we have 81 divided by 3. Then, next up would be multiplication and division from left to right. So 81 divided by 3 is 27. On to this next example. This is an important one to see because one thing we may not know is that square roots are another type of thing that we have to deal with as if it has parentheses. So when we're looking at this, we really have 2 things that we need to do. We need to do 4 minus 10, and we need to do the square root of 196. So we have 7 minus 4 minus 10, which is negative 6, plus the square root of 196, which is 14. Now, you need to remember from your algebra class that when you have two negatives in a row like this, that's really a positive. Okay, that two negatives makes that a plus, meaning what we really have here is 7 plus 6 plus 14, meaning all we have left is addition and subtraction. We would do those from left to right, so 13 plus 14, and actually I should probably put that in blue so you can see what's changing. Okay, we start by doing 7 plus 6, and it still didn't change color. 7 plus 6, which is 13, and then we do 13 plus 14 to get 27. Okay, next example here we have a fraction bar notation. Please keep in mind that what this really means is that before we can take care of the fraction bar, we have to deal with the entire top and the entire bottom. So we'll actually treat those as two different problems for the sake of simplifying. We're going to start on top inside the parentheses and do the 5 squared. So on top we would have 3 times 25 minus 5. And on the bottom, we're going to start inside the parentheses with 13 minus 9, meaning we have 2 plus 2 times 13 minus 9 is 4. So this is a good example here for what I'm talking about. This 2 parentheses 4, this no longer counts as parentheses. This is now considered multiplication. So our next step, we need to carry out the rest of the parentheses on top. So we would have 3, oops, I should switch to the pen tool, 3 times 20, because 25 minus 5 is 20. On the bottom we have 2 plus 2 times 4. So then we would carry out multiplication and division on both the top and the bottom from left to right. So we do multiplication, 3 times 20 and 2 times 4. That would give us, and I'm going to move down here because that's where I'm at, 60 on top, which is now fully simplified. And on the bottom, we have 2 plus 2 times 4 is 8. Our next step then would be to do 2 plus 8 on the bottom. We do this next. 2 plus 8, pen tool, 2 plus 8 is 10. So we now have 60 over 10. Remember, that means the same thing as 60 divided by 10, which would be 6. Okay, now the one main application of this is evaluating. So here we have some evaluation problems. Simply put, what we're going to do is we have an algebraic expression made up of variables. We're going to take the values of those variables, a, b, and c, plug them in, and then apply the order of operations. So we're going to take a equals negative 3, and we're going to put negative 3 in both of these expressions wherever there is an a. So negative 3 will be inputted in that location. We're then going to take 2 for b, and we're going to plug that in anywhere there's a b. So put a 2 in there. And for c, c equals 9, so we're going to put 9 in anywhere there's a c. Okay? So, when we look at this, what we've got for the first problem is negative 3 plus 5 times 9. Now, I know I put those in parentheses. That's more for your calculator's sake than anything else. When you're putting stuff into the calculator, especially with negative numbers like negative 3, you need to make sure that you're putting the negative in. Okay, so then next what we're going to do is carry out our order of operations, which means we're going to do multiplication next, 5 times 9. So we have negative 3 plus 45. Then we'd carry out that addition to get 42. Same thing over here, we're going to plug in 2 for b. So that would be 2 squared plus 4 times a, which is negative 3, over 2 times c, which is 9. So again, none of those technically count as parentheses. We're going to start with the exponent here. So that would be 4 plus 4 times negative 3 over 2 times 9. We would then carry out these two multiplication pieces, so this one and this one would be next. So that would be 4 minus 12 over 18. Then we would do the subtraction on top, because we need the subtraction on top to be completely cleared out. So that would be negative 8 over 18. Well, 8 is not divisible by 18. So then the next thing we need to do is ask ourselves, does that fraction, because that's what the answer is going to end up being, is a fraction, reduce? And it does. Both 8 and 18 are divisible by 2. So we need to reduce that fraction by dividing the top and the bottom by 2, giving us a final answer of negative 4 over 9. And that does it for that lesson. Thank you for your time.